You are tuned in to What Up Baltimore online radio. Please note that the views and opinions expressed on this channel are of the host and not of LadyJ Media. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, What Up Baltimore TV. And if you really don't want to miss any of the shows, hit that notification bell and you'll get a message every time we come on. Now, we got it from here, so sit back, relax, and stay tuned. Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. LadyJ. Listen, thank you so much for joining What Up Baltimore tonight. Tonight is going to be a really special night because it is Organ Donor Month, and we want to make sure that we always, stay on top of everything when it comes to what's going on around us. And so tonight is going to be a very special show. I've actually invited some friends of mine who currently are on a transplant list. They're waiting. And I know what that process has been like for them. I know how they're feeling and what they've been going through. And so tonight we're going to have that conversation with some people who know a lot about this organ donating, the transplants. I do have some questions that I want to ask because one of the things, especially in the African American community, is that people are afraid of donating their organs. Yeah, donating their organs. They're afraid of doing that. And so I want to talk about that because we want to kind of dispel the myth on that. So tonight I have a really special guest. Her name is Jamie Imhoff. I'm hoping I'm saying her name the correct way. But we have Jamie here, and Jamie actually reached out to me on Facebook. I'm telling you guys, if you reach out to me, I'll respond. So she reached out to me on Facebook and, told me about the fact that she would love to come on and talk about organ donation and transplants and all of that. So I was like, okay, let's do it. So we're here today. We have Miss Sarah Jones with us. We have Mr. Rob with us, and we have Rat Lyons with us. And we also have people that are watching who, as I said, are waiting. They're in the process of waiting for these transplants. So I want to say hello to everybody. Welcome to What Up Baltimore. I know this is your first time. But as I said, feel free to jump in wherever you can jump in. Tonight's topic is organ donation. Is it safe? So Jamie, welcome to What Up Baltimore.
Hi, you all. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much, Lady J. I love you. I love everything you do. And I was so thrilled that you decided to have us all on tonight.
Absolutely.
Just a little bit about me. I'm going to be speaking mostly on the technical aspect in the background. I'm actually a dual organ double transplant. So I have two different people inside of me, individuals, and I'm very blessed to have both of them. Last year, I was very sick during the summertime in a coma, and I was brought into Hopkins Bayview, and I was not going to live. So luckily, I just held on, and by the grace of an amazing team there and my family, they gave me a chance. And through a lot of hard work on their part, they were able to bring me over to Johns Hopkins Main Hospital, and I needed a liver to survive. And I got a liver to begin with. My donor, I don't quite know who they are yet. I'll speak on that too as part of the process. Alongside that, my kidneys actually failed afterward. Nobody's fault. It's just something that happens in just with transplants. There's nothing that can be avoided with that. So eventually I needed a kidney transplant, and I received that only 40 days ago. So I have 2 different donors and 2 different organs. So I can speak on both livers, kidneys, and dialysis and the weight for both of them. So with that said, I also want to introduce some of our other guests because we brought in a whole panel of guests. So sitting next to me is the wonderful Rob. He's going to speak tonight on, he's awaiting his liver transplant. And he's going to speak, like LadyJ mentioned, about the stigmas that arise in certain minority communities, and also just on rare blood types and what's associated with that. And he can also speak on his experience. Sometimes when it comes to being on the list, you're sick, but you're just not sick enough. So having to live with that kind of process is what he's going to speak on. From there, we have Rhett, who is to the side of me in the yellow shirt. Hi, Rhett. And he's going to also speak more on faith. And he is also a pretty recent liver transplant. So he's going to speak a lot about that, and also the power of belief and the power of prayer that goes into that. He's a wonderful subject on that. And above is the wonderful, wonderful Sarah Jones. And she's going to speak on what's a huge topic is caregiving. In order to get these life-saving transplants, you have to have a caregiver. And the caregivers are there with you 24/7. The amount of stuff they have to put up with, especially liver transplants, because we are rattled with ammonia in our brain and we are vicious. The stories that we could tell and the level of stuff that they have to do for us and take care of us, as not only as we're incapacitated in healing, but also even in the uncertainty and the moods that we go through. So she'll speak on that, and her husband too. And she can also tell you about 12 years of being so. So I can't wait to hear from her as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, Jamie, congratulations to you. Did you say 40 days ago?
Yep.
You okay.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. I make you guys laugh. I went from not producing any urine, this is a big thing with kidney failure, complete kidney failure, to I got a very good kidney that is overproducing right now. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's actually a good sign. That's one of the first things you want from your kidney transplant. They pump you so full of fluid that within 24 hours, they want you producing urine, even before you start filtering. So that's really one of the main signs we look for on a successful kidney transplant.
Right.
Yeah.
And Rob,
and was it the medications that caused your kidneys?
Yes, it was. Yep.
It was your medications, wasn't it?
Yep. Mm-hmm. So I went in with perfectly functioning kidneys, and the medicines we can speak on later on, anti-rejection and steroids. They within 1 month, my kidneys were just completely gone. So I'd been on dialysis ever since transplant, and I stayed on dialysis up until I just got kidney transplant. Yeah.
When did you find out that you had kidney failure?
It was like I said, it was within about 3 weeks. It just dropped. So there's something called a GFR and a creatinine level, and they just went from that. And then by month 3, there was hope, because usually they give you about 3 months for them what they call wake up. And by month 3, it was just like no. And then by month 4, once you're down to a GFR of 20, then you get put on the transplant list and you're ready to go. So we began the process for transplantation at month 4.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Wow. That's a huge process. I hope that you have someone around you who helps you through everything as you're going through it.
My caregiver was my wonderful father. Even with Parkinson's, he flew out here at over 7 years old and stayed with me through the whole time.
Wow.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, Rob, I wanted to come over to you because in the African American community, there's this stigma about donating. Organs being harvested, and if you go and have surgery, something might happen to you so they can get your organs. Like, there's all kinds of stories out there. So I wanted you to speak about that, because those are reasons why people in our community won't even consider donating their organs. So I wanted you to speak on that.
Now, I feel like I can speak on both sides, actually, because I'm African American. My parents are both African. My heart is in Africa. Parents were both born in Africa. So I understand how both stigmas are. I understand the hesitancy of donating. You think it's just, for just plain scientific purposes, but people fail to realize that these statistics are actual real people and they're helping out real people. So it just takes education, because I found out about my disease when I was 16 years old, and I've been battling with it for 25 years now. And I eventually just have gotten tired and more education, and just, I want to live a better life. I know I have 2 kids who I want to live a better life for, and I know by going through transplantation, I will give them a better life. Now, regarding being afraid or just hesitant, that's something we're going to have to learn amongst ourselves. It's not everyone, it's in every society, but as we move on, I feel like we'll get past it. But you have to start somewhere. Here's where we are.
So Rob is a very special case. I'll speak on this. This is you can have both a deceased donor and a living donor, and especially for livers, the difference is, of course, is a deceased donor is deceased, but then a living donor, a lot of people don't know this, but there's a few organs that you can either give up part of them or even the whole organ. So one, for example, is, of course, everyone knows kidneys. You can survive a 1 kidney perfectly good. And I just want to let people know that when they do a kidney donation, for example, it's just 1 kidney. That's it. And they don't remove your old kidneys, they put it in front. So speaking of Rob's situation with the liver, he qualifies for a living donor as well. So someone can donate up to 60% of their liver and be perfectly fine. What's people don't realize is that your liver regenerates itself. So every 3 years, your liver replaces its entire cell pretty much. And so he has that option. And that's why it's so important for him to speak about what someone else can do for him, as long as he matches and assists him so he can spend the rest of life with his boys.
Wow.
Do you want to speak a little more on that? He's really nervous.
I mean,
No, you did good, Jamie.
Well, Rob, just wanted to tell you that you have a wonderful radio voice. So keep speaking. We want to hear from you.
Thank you. Yeah. So just,
how did you find out?
I found out about.
Yeah, but what happened?
So, okay, my story pretty much, growing up, we found out by accident. Went to the doctor and just got basic blood work done. And for those that know about the liver, my LFTs, my liver function tests were high. And we just went over from there, and come to find out I had liver cirrhosis, which was gradually getting worse during time. But education on the topic wasn't really that well known. It was more of a you see, a testing type of thing, where people just, sorry, for lack of a better word, I can't really think right now, but more of a traditional, for lack of a better word.
That's also part of liver disease right there.
Yes, and that's part of
not
liver
being
disease.
able to connect those spots.
Encephalopathy will come with it also, where you'll get ammonia on the brain when your words will start to slip your mind, which is happening to me right now, in case you can't tell. But where were we? There we go.
So he'll have what we call HE episodes, and just come about throughout the day, and you'll lose track of time. For example, you won't, and so the condition that he's in and deteriorating will impede all kinds of functions in the general. I mean, you'll lose the ability to drive, the ability to work.
It varies from time to time. It all depends on what's going on and everything. Right now, it's obviously hitting me. Maybe from being nervous, it might be getting me a little bit, but it's something it's real hard to get with, especially when you have kids. It's just trying to be out with them and to spend the day with them. I do it the best that I can. I spend all day with them, but as soon as they go to sleep, I am out for the count. And just I start over the very next day.
And you watch?
Sorry?
Do you watch your diet really close? Do you watch your diet?
Yes, I do. So I'm on medication called lactulose, which helps me flush the ammonia out of my system, which is less ammonia on my brain. My diet, I stay away from fried foods, trying to get away from meats. That's kind of hard. I'm kind of a carnivore there when it comes to that, but trying to improve my vegetable
The
intake.
meat proteins.
Sorry?
The meat proteins.
The meat proteins.
The meat proteins, yes. I get enough meat protein, definitely, but I'm gonna have to slow it down a little bit.
I mean, that's one of the things that will cause the hepatic encephalopathy is the meat proteins. We've also learned red food coloring that they put in turmeric and several of our other spices. The red food coloring can also trigger HE, which is hepatic encephalopathy. We all call it HE symptoms. So we're learning a lot about diet in liver disease with liver disease. Back when
Wow.
my husband was waiting, he's now 9 years post. But when he
Mhm.
was waiting, like what Rob said, there's no education out there.
Nothing.
So in the last 10 years, the education has really started. So that's kind of he's in that position right now where he can really start learning a lot about liver disease.
And obviously, social media is kind of where I'm meeting like-minded people. So to be able to
Oh
tell our
yes,
story and to figure out what's going on, because I really 5, 10 years ago, I was pretty much on an island. That's how I felt. No one really understood. Everyone thought liver issues was all the same thing, but everything varies and it's so different. So it's great to be able to be on this forum and to share my experience.
Do you
exactly.
suffer, Jamie and Rob? Do you suffer with depression and anxiety? Um, going through this.
I get anxiety, definitely. I get a lot of anxiety. Just the nervousness of it, not knowing what's going
Mhm.
to come around the next day, and just it can build up. Definitely can
Yeah,
build up. But
yeah.
I wouldn't really say depression. No, not really.
Mhm. Just the anxiety.
It's anxiety,
So
crucial.
yeah. So along with your going through this process, do you all go through therapy as well?
Yes, now it's
Mhm.
mandated.
Yeah.
Good, good.
Pre-transplant is mandated just to make sure that everything's okay. So I go out of state, which is it's
Okay.
only an hour and a half away. But I go over there and I speak with. I have my whole team there, University of Pennsylvania. So we go on. I don't know if I was allowed to say that, but yes, we go there and then we get that all done. So
A
I
great
will.
Yeah.
center,
Yeah.
Mhm.
great center to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, I guess I can say it.
I said, Lady J, I have a really interesting story for you. So,
Mhm.
being in dialysis in Baltimore, the percentage of people are actually African American. And I remember one guy came to me because the nurses told him to, and he goes, "I hear you're the girl who knows how to get a transplant." And I laughed and I said, "Yeah. The thing is, like Hopkins, they insist on being COVID vaccinated. That's just their rules. They won't budge. That's how it is." And I told him, I'm like, I can help you. I can give you the information, but you're going to have to get the vaccine up to the first booster shot, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts with it. That's just what. Now every transplant hospital is different, but that's
Mhm.
what they insisted. And he goes, "No, I don't want the nanobots from the government in me." And I go, "Okay."
Oh
And then
wow.
I looked at him and I said, I'm not going to debate with you, but I'm going to give you a choice here. You can either have the nanobots or you can have dialysis. And I want you to think on that because I know you don't like it
Mhm.
as much as I do. And a week later, he came back. He goes, "Okay, we'll talk about the bots." So
Yeah,
that's what we're
yeah.
talking about, like communication, and like what people think.
Mhm.
I mean, someone would be willing to stay on horrendous dialysis because they're scared and they're uncertain.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just a lot of misinformation
mhm,
out there, and people are afraid. So that's why shows like this and you
mhm,
all actually stepping out, and I commend you for stepping out and being transparent because it actually gives other people an opportunity to make an informed decision. So thank you so much. And we're going to ask the other young lady to tell us about her story being a caregiver. I know what that's like. So tell us a little bit about what you've been going through.
Well, we've been on this journey for 20 years now.
Wow.
My husband had kidney cancer
uh-oh.
I think her phone is frozen.
ago,
There she
and then there we are. So we had his kidney removed, and you have to wait 5 years to be cancer free. Month after we found his kidney cancer was taken care of, we found he had end stage liver disease, stage 4,
Hmm.
and he couldn't even get listed for 5 years. So actually, in all reality, he waited 11 years for his transplant, liver transplant,
Wow.
with one
Wow.
kidney. And he's 9 years post liver now, doing absolutely amazing. And that's what made us start our nonprofit, the Caring Hands Village, because I've been a
Mm.
caregiver alone for all these years. And it's tough.
Wow.
You need
Yeah.
support. Back then there was no support group. Thankfully, right when Facebook started, my daughter got me on Facebook. And that's when I always say the mouth of the South, me, started running my mouth and said, we've got to talk about all of it. The good, bad, ugly. We need to know it all because you get flabbergasted at transplant time. I mean, in the real world, you can get flabbergasted really easy at transplant time.
Mm.
And so to me, it was educate myself with all about kidneys to start with, and then I learned about livers. And then since then, now I've learned about lung transplants, heart transplants, I mean, all kinds of them. You know, the double transplants, livers, kidneys, all that. And we have over 300 mentors, and we're helping almost 900 families right now. So
Wow.
we've
So how
been
are you?
very blessed.
I was going to ask you, how are you coping? That's a lot of years, 20 years. So how do you cope and
Oh,
get
it's
through it with being a caregiver and being the fact that that's your husband?
a lot of faith. I mean, if it was not
Mhm.
for our faith, we would have never made it. My faith never wavered at all. And
Wow.
once he was able to say, okay, I put it in God's hands, then he was able to get that peace of mind. And then he was okay with waiting. And like he always told me, I win either way. I either go to
Mm,
heaven or I get a new liver and I get to stay here. But either way,
mm,
I win. I'm like, that's not fair. You know, I don't want to lose you. So, I mean,
yeah.
he was actually almost basically dementia state for 8 of those 11 years waiting. So he
Wow.
couldn't drive, he couldn't do anything. He was sleeping 20, 22 hours a day at that point. So we relocated from Cleveland, Tennessee to Charlotte, North Carolina. And we actually lived in a hotel for 6 months. And then I found
Wow.
us a house rental, and it was a perfect match because the man that owned it lived next door to us, and he was a caregiver to his sister that he had just lost to cancer. So they helped me tremendously pre-days and then post-transplant for Jim. And I still call them my brothers from another mother. And because they were such support for me, because there is no support out there. And
Wow.
we have now started a transplant caregivers support group on Facebook. I have the
Hmm.
Caring Hands Village Facebook page that I post positives to every day.
Right.
And you've got to keep the hope going. You've got to keep
Yeah.
positivity going. And
Hmm.
you have to have faith,
Yeah.
no matter if it's God or whatever higher power that you believe in, but you have to have some type of faith to get you through these journeys.
And you
So, but
definitely,
that's,
when they say for better or worse in sickness and in health, you definitely
oh,
are
yeah.
standing by those vows, and I know your husband
Oh,
probably
definitely.
so blessed to have you.
Well, I got PTSD from it as well.
Hmm.
And that's been a process of learning how to deal with that on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But I've also learned helping people like Jamie and so many other ones that when I do that, it helps me. And I
Yeah.
cannot feel bad at that point. And so, I
Hmm.
mean, I can be feeling really horrible and I'll get a message or a call, and all of a sudden I kick in and all my issues go away. So to
Mm.
me, that's also therapy for me. You
Yes.
know, it fills
Yes.
my heart up with joy to be able to help all the other caregivers so that they're not alone. And that's our motto is no caregiver is alone with us at the Caring Hands Village.
Yeah.
And that's why we have over 300 mentors.
So your organization, is it in Maryland?
No, it's in out of North Carolina.
Okay. Okay.
uh, Real, it's Monroe, North Carolina, but that's a suburb of Charlotte, which is where my husband had his transplant was in Charlotte.
Okay. Got you. Got you. Okay.
And
Uh,
actually, uh, Atrium there at Charlotte, uh, Duke in Raleigh, Durham, Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. They are all, and UAB and Birmingham, they're all sending their caregivers to us now. And
oh. Oh.
so we have
Wow.
really expanded tremendously in the last year and a half to two
Mhm.
years. And we have several affiliates that help pay expenses, especially for children and going through transplant. We have
Mhm.
CODA, we have Boomer Assassin Foundation, we have Ava's Heart, Trenton's Legacy. I mean, I can go on and on. We have so many affiliates. And One
Wow.
Breath Association is another one that will help pay expenses pre and post transplant. And so
Mhm.
I try to connect with all those different ones so that there's resources out here. Because, I mean, like I say, no one was there and we didn't have the knowledge 10
Yeah.
years ago when
Yeah.
my husband was waiting. So
Right.
to me, it's the more we can get the knowledge out there, the more we can educate, the better we are.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Mm-hmm.
also walking, talking billboards for Donate Life.
And I was going to say, like,
But we were
you're giving hope to other people now. Something that you didn't have, you're giving it to somebody else.
exactly. And actually, we were donated a 39-foot gorgeous RV in 2020, right as COVID started hitting.
Oh wow.
And we had actually given away 45 years of stuff because that's what we had was stuff. And so we gave away everything we needed except for what we needed in the RV. We went to stay with a friend in Florida thinking we were going to go buy an RV. And at this point in time, a company that my husband had known for 40 years, they called us and said, we want to donate the RV to you. And so
Oh,
he flew to Missouri, picked it up, and drove it back to Florida. And so for the last 3 years, that's what we've done is we've been traveling the United States, helping as many caregivers as we can, going into the
wow.
hospitals to educate the hospitals as well. We're
Mm-hmm.
just now starting being able to get back into the hospital
Yeah.
post-COVID times. So that's a struggle. So
Wow.
I mean that's what we do. And I mean
Wow.
I'll walk through the transplants with the caregivers. I'll stay up with them all night. They all know they can call me anytime and I'll
Mm-hmm.
talk to you. It doesn't matter day or night. I will get up and talk to you. And if you're going through transplant, or I just had one that I helped her walk her husband through hospice for 4 days, 4 nights
Mm.
by herself.
Wow.
And so, I mean, if I, like she said, if she just sees my green light on, she knows that I'm here. And so
Yeah.
they feel that comfort and they know that they're not alone. And
Right.
that's huge. As a
Mm.
caregiver, you need to know somebody cares and
Yes.
somebody's got your back.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. Now, Jamie, I actually read something on your page that I want to read to everyone. I thought it was really interesting because I didn't know this. So, I'm so glad that we're having this conversation to bring awareness to all of this. And for those of you who are listening on the radio or you're watching on any of the social media sites, feel free to call us if you have a comment or if you just want to sit back and listen, it's fine too. But the number you can call in on is 443-297-4753. So Jamie had this on her page, her Facebook page, transplants by the number. Currently in waiting for a transplant, 4/6/2023, sorry, is when she wrote it. She said 88,000, wow, 88,755 people waiting for kidneys, 844 waiting for pancreas, 1,941 for kidneys and pancreas, 10,480 people waiting for a liver, 205 waiting for an intestine, 3,410 for heart, 1,013 for lungs, and 37 heart and lungs are the hardest surgery of all. That's
Well, they are.
104,078 individuals. That is unbelievable. And
So,
because people like me, we don't know. And then you have one here, national average wait time for organs: kidney, 5 years; liver, 11 months; heart, 4 months; lung, 4 months; kidney and pancreas, 1.5 years; pancreas, 2 years. And this is from the Gift of Life. This is the source that she got it from. But I just thought, like, those numbers that is crazy. That I never even thought about it. And that's the thing about it. When you're not going through something, you really don't know what's going on. So just looking at all of those people who are waiting, just literally waiting for an organ, is incredible. So, um,
Well, actually, 10 years ago,
Mhm.
there was over 125,000 people waiting on the waiting list. So, I
Wow.
mean, it's gone down, but at the same time, 19 to 20, I think it's 19 to 22 people die every
right.
day waiting.
That's
And
on the
then,
list. That's not
yes,
even
that's
people who didn't get
waiting on
on the
the
list,
waiting list.
who didn't know how to get on the list, is not even located somewhere where
Exactly.
they can get on the list. I actually want to give you a real statistic I just figured out today. It's kind of neat.
Mhm.
If you were to take all of those people on the list, and let's just say they all lived in Baltimore and they were part of the population in Baltimore, that means that 1 out of every 5th person you saw in Baltimore was waiting on a transplant.
Wow.
So just think of like the staggering number if you just concentrated them all right here. And that kind of gives you a realistic kind of ideal aspect of that's how many people are out there.
Yeah. With us all raising awareness, we all have been able to bring it down, the waiting list down some, but 19 people a day are added back to the waiting list. And so you've got 19 to 22 that die every day that are waiting, and then you get another 19 added. You're not getting very far on that list.
So, LadyJ,
you know, so that's why we.
Oh, sorry. No, I just wanted to bring Rob.
But that's why we need to push living donors.
Yeah. And I wanted to bring Red into this because him and I are ones that weren't even on the waiting list. We were so sick that we came in dead pretty much. And so he wants to talk about a little bit about his story and faith and then how that works too, you know? So.
Okay, go ahead, Red. Yeah. Go ahead.
I think
you get your driver's license.
And actually, we know one that's in the hospital right now waiting for his second heart transplant. And he's on his last chance of the ECHMO machine that was put in yesterday. And it's his last opportunity to waiting on a heart transplant. Wow. So, and he's one that I connected with when I first started. So when Facebook started, I connected with those people and the ones that have done documentaries on kidneys and livers. And it was just part of what, to me, I've used Facebook as a positive. Because there are so many support groups out here. And there's so many of us, and the donor families are some of our biggest advocates for raising awareness too. I don't know, my friends list, you'll notice at least a third of those people are donors and donor families. And the other, probably half of them are transplant recipients.
Wow. All right, well, Red, you come on in. Let's hear your story.
Okay. I mean, I was very naive about the whole situation. Like here in Georgia, when you get your driver's license, you know, they'll knock off $10 or $15 if you say you're going to be a donor. So I ended up in the hospital. Like I didn't have a chance. I didn't even know about the list or anything, but I went into the hospital thinking, oh, they got a freezer full of livers downstairs. And that wasn't the case. I mean, I ended up going to the hospital on November 10th. I got on the list November 17th and got my transplant November 19th of last year. And so, I mean,
amazing.
There's people out there waiting for a year or so, but I mean, I was such a train wreck when I went in that time was not on my side. And I was also naive. Like I thought when I was in the hospital, I thought, once I finally got transferred out of ICU and I got onto my floor, I was thinking, my neighbor to my left was a liver patient. My neighbor to the right was a liver patient. The other 50 patients on the floor or however many were on the floor. I thought, the whole floor was full of liver people, but no. I looked this up just a couple of days ago and, Atlanta, Georgia is where I had my transplant. And I was one of 100 people that received a liver transplant at Piedmont Hospital in Atlanta last year. And I was, somebody had asked me,
so many.
I would have thought 10,000, people. I had no earthly idea. This was very new to me.
Well, you didn't hear about Piedmont for many years, and it's amazing that you said Piedmont. We know several that's had their transplants at Piedmont. That's a wonderful center.
I'm a recent one.
So let me ask you,
that's fantastic.
How are you doing with your? And I'm asking you and Jamie, how are you all doing? Because I've had a couple of friends who've had transplants and their body rejected it. How are you all doing?
I feel better than I have in 5 years. I mean, if you saw me, you would never know anything had ever happened to me. I mean, I feel better than I have the last 5 years. I ride my bike every day. I exercise every day. I think I've ridden probably about 60 miles in the last month, and I exercise every single day. But I mean, business as usual.
Good. And your health has gotten better since.
Oh yeah.
That?
Oh yeah, okay. Absolutely. I mean, I feel phenomenal. I mean, I hadn't felt this good. And my story, I'll tell it quick. I mean, I was sick from like 2019 on, I'd go to the hospital. At first, I thought I was dehydrated because when I was younger, I wrestled growing up, and I was always cutting dehydrated, and they'd give me a couple IVs and ship me on home. Then as it went on, I'd end up in the hospital for longer periods of time, and then finally about September of 2022 is when I ended up at a local hospital, which, by the way, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but not every hospital does transplants. I mean, there's only one or two usually in a state. Some states have more.
Right.
So I ended up in my local hospital at the end of September, and they told me I needed to go down to Atlanta, which is about 50 miles away. And I got down there, and anyway, I went down there. I got my blood work, drove home, and they turned around. I went home 10 minutes, and they said, "Get back down here, go to the ER. We're gonna have a room waiting on you." And that's where that was November 10th. Then I told you, like I said, I didn't have the waiting process like Rob's going through right now. I mean, I didn't know anything about anything. So,
That's amazing.
yeah.
That's amazing how fast that went for you.
And talk about like miracles. I kept thinking, yeah, the doctors are telling me, Rhett, yeah, you're a miracle, and like, yeah, whatever. You tell everybody that. But, after a month or two went by, I kind of said, wait a minute, this is kind of true. And what your first milestone when you have a transplant is you have multiple milestones in the first year, but the first one is your 3-month. And I went for my 3-month appointment.
Yes.
And when you have a transplant, like Jamie said, your liver and your kidneys go hand in hand with each other. So not only do I go to my liver doctor, I also have a kidney doctor. Well, my liver doctor, she hadn't figured out my personality, and she's trying to figure me out a little bit. But I mean, I finally said, just, Doc, tell me, I mean, how good am I? And she said, Rhett, you honestly, you don't know how close. You didn't have months to live. You didn't have days to live. You had, I mean, we're talking hours. You don't know how few hours you had. And I said, well, how am I compared to others? I like to be always compared at my 3-month checkup. And she said, you're one of the best ones that have come through Piedmont. And then I went to my kidney doctor, and I mean, she was literally almost in tears. I mean, she was just, I mean, she saw me and just literally, the last time she saw me, I was, like I told you, my definition was train wreck in the hospital. And she saw me, and she was, I could almost see tears in her eyes. And I mean, she said, this is what I've lived for. And so you're asking how I'm doing, and I mean, I'm doing phenomenal.
That's good. I'm so glad to hear that.
Rhett, do you attribute that to your belief and faith at all?
I do, I do. And here's another crazy thing. My mom keeps saying, God wasn't finished with you yet. And this is last week, and I went to go get my new glasses. So I get my glasses, and right next door is a Subway sandwich shop. And so after I got my glasses, I went into the Subway shop, and I was standing there, and the lady was trying to take my order, and I couldn't hear her because the fan was going or whatever. And I made a joke. I said, yeah. I said, I'm getting old. I can't hear. I said, yeah. And I just had to leave the eye doctor next door. And then I said, matter of fact, I lifted up my shirt and I showed her my scar, and I said, yeah, I had to get some new parts inside too. A couple months ago. And there was me and one other lady in the restaurant, and she looked at me and she said, do you mind me asking, did you just get a liver transplant? And I said, yeah. And because our scars are kind of distinctive. And I have the Mercedes scar is what they refer to mine as. But anyway, she said, oh my gosh, she said, my grandson just got put on the list today. I said, oh man, that's great. And she said, do you mind me asking, when did you get your transplant? And I said, well, actually I got it November 19th. And she said, oh my God, I can't believe it. That's my grandson's birthday.
Oh, wow.
I mean, what are the
All
odds?
for reasons.
I mean, I'm thinking God was trying to tell that grandmother, I'm sure she was worried sick. I've never seen her in my life. I'll never see her again in my life. She was probably worried sick, and maybe her seeing me said, hey, my grandson, look at this guy, 4 months after the fact. And I mean, look at him. I mean, hey, my grandson.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, you gave her hope.
That was just,
You
like I
gave
said,
her.
that was last week. I got these glasses last week.
So I often
That's how it works.
Yep.
it's kind of weird because before this, I never even knew a transplant, and I have a fairly big network. And my dad comes with a great story. So one day he went out, and so my dad uses medical marijuana for it's legal, in states that we're from, and so he goes down to this the dispensary to buy some, and he starts talking to the guy there, and the guy turns out that his soon-to-be fiance, and as she's doing it, but she's on the list or waiting to get a liver transplant too. And so I get on the phone with them and speak and give them the groups that we're in that we'll list for you all to take a look at. And then he gets in an Uber after that. And then the guy, the Uber driver he's talking to that same day, he's like, oh, he has a relative that just had a liver transplant 2 years ago. And then my dad comes home and he goes, how is this possible? Like, how is this? How did this happen in one? We're not even by the hospital,
Crazy things are happening to me. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do.
But it's all for reasons.
I do believe that
Our son actually met.
has a lot to do with it.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Our son was at a meat market in Charlotte, not too far from his house. We were in Tennessee at that point. But he met another lady. They were talking about dogs at the meat counter of all places. And it turns out that something came up and she said, yeah, her husband had just received a liver transplant. And he said, wait, my dad received his liver transplant here. She's now has been one of our mentors. We were able to meet them this last year, and her husband are now mentors with us. And that's how it happens. And we're walking.
And I want to add, like when I ran into that lady, I live in a small town in northeast Georgia, so it's not like a big city either. So just the odds of me running into that lady at the subway last week was just even more astonishing.
Oh yeah, like I say, all for reasons.
Can somebody explain? Sam Day said Piedmont Hospital, Atlanta, deceased donor transplants in a year. 140.
Yeah, so he's speaking on how many they did of deceased donors. So he might, Sam, if you want to. So Sam, by the way, is a heart transplant, and we should congratulate him because on the 20th, it will be 8 years for him.
Wow.
So hopefully, Sam, maybe he'll call in. But he runs an amazing group. He's an ambassador with UNOS and all that. So he's helped so many other people, especially heart and lung transplants, which aren't as many as livers and kidneys, but just as important too, and the things that they have to go through. So we mentioned transplants. So there's both deceased donors, and that's what the infamous list is for, or you can also qualify for a living donor. So nearly all kidney transplants, if you have a living donor, someone that matches with you, then you can obtain it that way. And even if the people who are being tested don't match with you, there's also something called a paired donation. So what they'll do is organizations will look at and see if they match with someone else. And then that increases the likelihood of the person that you're trying to match up on the list of the ranking of the infamous list, because there are ranking points that I can explain later. But so not just because you don't match per se to the person you're trying to doesn't mean that you can't help someone else. And in return, the person that you're trying to help can get help too. So that's a pretty neat program out there. And so then going back to also the liver, and you can also donate one lobe of a lung and then part of a pancreas and intestines as well to somebody. Those are all living donors. And they can go, they can go on living too. And another thing too about, you mentioned being safe, is that living donors for the rest of their life get care. So let's just say things go wrong with you in about 10 years or 12 years or whatever. If you need to be listed for any reason or need organs in the future, let's just say for a kidney, for example, you're going to go right to the top there, like with ranking system. So you're not just left in the dust, and a lot of insurance companies and hospitals, and there's programs out there that will pay for not only the transportation, but the time off and then all the healthcare and everything for living donors. So you're being watched just as closely as the recipient themselves. So you get the care is just as good too.
Now, what is the procedure that a person has to go through to find out if they're a match? And is it the same for every organ, or are there different procedures you have to go through?
Sarah, do you want to speak on that?
It's basically the same, but they really test it for everything. They make sure before you are a donor, a living donor, that you're healthy enough and you have no health issues. And what I tell everybody, until you're on that table, don't stop looking for that donor. Get billboards, write signs on, get the decals on your cars, because trying to find matches for kidney donors is tough because the antibodies have to match.
The
If they've
antigens
been
have
on
to,
dialysis, it takes more because it's harder for them to match due to dialysis. We
so
know
when they,
several living donors for kidneys and livers, actually. And to watch a living liver donor is amazing.
so when you're speaking of antibodies, it's also like antigens. So I just want to point this out is that, for example, with my liver, that belongs to a boy. So
Like
that
a little boy? A little
actually,
boy?
yes, unfortunately, mine was 11-year-old boy. That
Wow.
Can you believe the choice that those parents made to give up? And I mean, one day, not quite yet. I'm not allowed yet, quite yet, but hopefully, I get to reach out and meet that family and the friends. But that's a story still be blossoming, hopefully. But yeah, so he was a boy, and and so it doesn't. You don't even need to worry so much about the sex per se going into the transplant. Kidneys are a bit harder than livers because you have to match the antigens and everything. So when they say on the list, also your ranking on the list, you're in an ideal world, we'd all get like a near perfect match, but there's not enough kidneys, period. So they do the best they can depending on how long you've been on dialysis, for example. Just other your blood type, for example. Not all blood types are equal because there's type O is
Right.
the lowest
Right.
part of the population, and universal donor, but not universal recipient. But yeah, so all that's ranked
Which
in
is partly
two.
with,
Yeah.
which is the liver as well. I mean, you have
Yep.
to watch blood types, the size of the liver, the
The type
size
of
of the
blood,
person, size of the donor.
Mhm.
They will match the size of the donor to the size of the recipient
Mhm.
before that they can make that decision that recipient will get it. And because, I mean, my husband is a big man, he had to have a bigger liver, and his donor was a 22-year-old male. And we have
Oh,
no
wow.
idea who he was, even 9 years later. He still writes his letters, and we still try. But when the family's ready, then we know they'll reach out, because
Yeah.
we know enough of the donor families that it takes them years before they're ready. Some it doesn't,
Yeah, and
and
what did they
some, I
say?
mean,
Like
within
what you
months.
say? I mean, I've written my letter. We all call it. We refer to it as the letter, and that's the hardest letter I've ever written in my entire life. I mean, I don't
Oh
mind
yes,
speaking in front of people. I don't mind writing stuff, but that letter, I'm you try to pick the right time. I want to tell the people how thankful I am and everything, but we're trying to pick the right time to tell them how thankful we are and choose the correct words and everything. So I mean, I've written my letter. It's on standby, and I'm waiting for the grieving process, and also trying not to. Obviously, when I got my transplant was during the holidays, so I don't want to do it on near Thanksgiving and Christmas and 1 year anniversary of their deceased loved one. So it's just trying to pick the right timing. So I mean, that was the hardest letter I've ever written in my life, and I'm 52 years
oh
old.
yes,
Wow.
absolutely. I mean, it took my husband months to write
Oh
his
yeah,
first letter,
I mean, yeah, and
Now,
because you want to
saying,
make sure you say everything, but yet there's no way you can say thank you enough,
exactly.
no
right.
matter who it is. I mean, you just can't say thank you enough for saving my life. And
Yeah,
you saved the life of 9 others, and you helped up to 150 others with bones and tissues. And actually,
and I
I
don't know
now
if
have a
Jamie knows
bone
these
graft.
statistics. Like one donor, how many people can one donor? I mean, one deceased donor can
Up
help
to
how many?
250.
Yeah, it's
Up to
crazy how many.
250.
Yeah,
Wow.
So, I mean, they could save up to 9 with organs, and then they
right.
could help up to 250 with tissues, bones, the corneas. I mean,
Mm.
I just had dental
So,
surgery done a couple of weeks ago, and I have a bone graft. So I
yeah.
asked, I said, okay, is this what type of a graft did you just put in me? Is it a real bone? And, because I wanted to know, was it a donor bone? And it is. And so it made me go, wow. And then we have one of what we call our other sons. He burned his leg really bad this last year, and they were able to do a skin graft on him, and it saved his leg. And he had the skin graft for like 3 months. They were able to come in, take that skin graft off, and his leg was healed. So it's amazing what they can do with those tissues. And given the sight to someone that has never been able to see their children or their grandchildren before. There's so many, and it doesn't, one of the things I always say, it does not just affect the patient and their caregiver, it affects thousands of people. Whoever is in that person's life, it affects all those people.
Right.
Everybody from the dentist to the doctor to your family and friends, it affects you all. Because there is nothing like transplant.
Yeah.
Lady
Now,
J, you mentioned. Oh, you mentioned that you.
yeah.
Sorry.
I wanted to read what Sam had written. Well,
Which
just
is
before
amazing, by the way.
he said, Sam said, living donations is an option only for kidney and liver transplants. Living donations is an option only for kidney and liver transplants. And he said, getting worked up as a living donation is extreme. In fact, many who go through the workup and evaluation end up getting saved because of the thorough testing. They find out that they have issues. And that's interesting. And he says the potential donors find out that they have health issues that should be addressed. Living donors,
Absolutely.
anyone who steps forward to donate, are all heroes. And I absolutely agree. Because to do that, I think, is the ultimate gift. I have a son, he's 27, and I don't even think about that. But when you have a loved one, and I have been in situations with my family members who passed away, and I think I want to share something with you that I experienced, that really scared me when it came to the whole organ donation thing. My cousin was actually, he was robbed here in Baltimore, and he was running away, and they shot him. Oh my goodness, something just went in my eye. They shot him, and he actually was running away, ran into the middle of the street, got hit by a car. The car hit him. He went up and came down on his head. So by the time he got to the hospital, he was brain dead. And they were asking my cousin, his mother, because he was healthy, 27-year-old. And I guess they had done the test like Sam was just talking about. And his mom decided to allow them to take whatever organs they could take. Now, the hard part for me was walking into the room and still seeing, it looked to me like he was breathing because they still had the machine and everything on him. And that was the hardest thing for me to see, that they had to do that. They were waiting for a couple of the recipients. It was a lot, and I think that's the other thing that we have to talk about for people who may one day have to make that choice about, giving up their loved ones' organs. And I think that's a conversation that's really important to have, so you kind of prepare yourself for it, because I didn't know. I just assumed that when you say yes, they take you off and, they take the organs and that's it. But we actually had to wait a couple of days before she could even plan for the funeral, because people were flying in from California. It was a lot. It was a lot. So talk to me about that.
So just to let you guys know, these organs have to stay on oxygen. So, what they were doing, and I hope, actually, by the way, if you guys ever want to see something beautiful, I don't know if they did an honor walk for him, but you guys can Google and look at,
Yes, honor walk. I was going to mention that.
That's real heroes. And that's amazing. But so they only have a limited time of transportation to implanting in a person. So the ones that have to be done the first are, of course, the heart and the lungs. That's usually only 4 to 6 hours. So that's how. So when you get the call, the infamous call, and you literally get a phone and you sleep with your phone next to yourself on the loudest setting that you can imagine, because a call could happen at any time. My call for my kidney came at 4 a.m. in the morning. And boy, did I know that ring. And for the liver, it's usually you have a little bit more leeway, maybe up to like 10 hours. And then kidneys are nice. You can do about 24 hours. for them before they're transplanted, but it's not like they can just, they can't just wait days and then give them to you. That's it.
Yeah.
And if they're not, and then the worst part is that they have to stay viable during transportation. So even if they get to the hospital, they still have to be re-examined, re-looked at. And a lot of times people are already, they're there, they're ready to go, and the organ's just not viable, by the time it gets there. So there's a lot of new methods that they're even trying to do right now as we speak to increase that time and increase that viability, so they don't go to waste in a sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's it plays with your mind. I'll say that, because you're being told that your loved one has passed away, but you still see them breathing, and they're warm.
Yep.
They're still warm. And so but thank you for explaining it, because my cousin was able to help a lot of people. He was 27, very healthy athlete. So, there are people walking around today, with his organs. So it's a great thing to do, but it really helped me to understand the process, not just the process of giving the organs to someone else, but the mental strain and trauma that the family goes through. Because I did have family members who were like, don't do it, and then you have other family members saying it's okay, and people don't understand. So it's a lot. But Sam said donor families are really well taken care of by the staff, and they were, of the organ procurement organization. Everyone is handled with care, even much after the donation. And that is really true. That is so true. And
Yes,
they
it
were
is.
so patient with all of us, because a lot of my family members just couldn't get it that he was gone, because he's still
Right.
breathing and still warm. And so it was a lot of commotion in the room that day and in the hallway, but everybody was just so nice and so patient, and made the process a little bit easier. So
That's where our
hopefully,
education helps.
yes, hopefully everybody who's watching, or listening, can really understand the importance of organ donation, because you know what, we never know. It could be us one day, it could be us, it could be
Exactly.
our children, family members. So we just don't know. Let's see, Sam, you know what, Sam, the next time you have to come on the show.
I
Sam
tried.
is an amazing
I
man.
tried.
Yeah, Sam
So
is
Sam,
absolutely amazing.
he said the organization organ procurement organization folks are the ones who recover the organs from the deceased donor, intentionally and distinctly separate from the medical team that's involved in the transplant. Yes. I saw a lot that day. I saw the coolers that, normally that we carry food in, they had ice and stuff in it, so I was able to see a lot that day. It was really interesting. Not something I want to go through again, but it just gave me a reminder as we were talking. So I think somebody might be calling in. Hold on one second. This is Lady J. Are you calling in to make a comment?
Yes. Good evening. I heard this show tonight, and organ donation is a big deal. If you all could indulge me for a quick minute, one of the things, I work with a nonprofit. Our issue, we try to fight, one of the issues we work against is food insecurity. What I did not know is that high blood pressure and diabetes, which some are genetic and some is from things that you eat and drink, are two of the biggest causes of kidney disease.
I can speak on that.
Not knowing that, because of genetic issues in my family, even though for years we teach people how to eat healthy and about food insecurity and how to grow food in containers and this, that, and the other, we just found out recently that my husband was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease, and he has since moved to end-stage renal failure. We're in that place right now, going through the process of getting on a transplant list. We're training for to be able to for me to be his tech to do dialysis at home. And one of the biggest things for anybody that's listening, that's anywhere in this process, find out what you can do to keep from getting there. whether it's high blood pressure and take care of that, your diabetes, take care of that. There are things you can do to keep from being in this situation. And I just wanted to share that perspective.
Thank you. Anybody want to say anything to her before she goes?
You're absolutely correct about that. So those are the leading causes. Like my cause of kidney failure, very rare. So that's just not what happens. But those are the leading causes. And a lot of people, when you say, get to that point, even in that stage of failure, they're like the high cholesterol, high blood pressure, they're actually not able to be transplanted with a kidney because the veins aren't there to withstand a new kidney. So early testing and early acknowledgement. I mean, I know it's hard to hear those words, you have type 1 or type 2, but this is also something that will affect it later down the life. So it's great that you mentioned that. You can go into your doctor at any time and say, hey, I want a comprehensive metabolic panel and take a look see what's going on with yourself.
Yeah. And we also have another caller, Sam. Sam, welcome, Sam.
Hi, LadyJ. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Great show.
Thank you. Thanks for all of the information. You have to come on so we can talk to you face to face the next time.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Sam, you're amazing.
Hearing all this stuff, this is great information. I'm glad you guys are doing it. It's education and awareness is key.
Mm-hmm.
So,
thank you so much, and thank you to our callers. We're almost out of time. Thank you so much for calling in.
So, LadyJ, so the biggest thing we haven't done yet is tell everyone you need to go to www.registerme.org, and there is where you can start getting the links and you can sign up to become an organ donor, especially this month and National Donate Life Month and everything. So I'm going to repeat that one more time, www.registerme.org. And not only that, this is also a month where we, again, with transplantation, we need blood, we need plasma. I was just going back and seeing how much was donated for my transplants. So any little bit of anything that you don't even think of can help. So definitely looking at that.
I was going to ask you. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And come to our page on Facebook or our website. It's the Caring Hands Village. And I'll keep positives going for you every day. That's how Jamie and I connected. We're all in those groups. Get on and let's talk about it. Whatever your illnesses are, whatever, let's talk about them and let's find you help. Because educating these hospitals about organ donation, about tissue donation, that's part of what we're trying to do as we're traveling around the country. Because we just had a dear friend in Indiana last week that passed, which was a post-liver and kidney transplant recipient. They never came in. That hospital never came and asked, did she want to be a donor? Which she definitely wanted to be a donor. They never asked because that hospital wasn't educated to go in and ask about becoming donors. So that's also another huge part we all need to be doing is educating the hospitals.
And what was your organization called again?
The Caring Hands Village.
And that's you said it's on Facebook?
Yes, it's on Facebook, and we also have a website. All of our story, everything is there on our Facebook page. Okay. We're also on Instagram. My husband does Twitter. I don't usually do Twitter. He does Twitter. And he does LinkedIn. So we're kind of all over the place.
Okay.
And I want to add something. I mean, it also affects. It doesn't just affect the recipient of the organ. I mean, it affected multiple people in my life indirectly. I mean, if I have kids, I want to be around for them. They wanted me to be around. I have employees. They needed me to be around. There's a lot of other people are affected indirectly as well. So, I mean,
that's what I was meaning by not just the recipients. It's thousands of people.
Yeah.
That's what Rob is saying. There's thousands of people for every transplant. There's thousands that are touched and affected in some way.
Wow.
And we definitely need to get you connected with the other one from Piedmont that we know that goes there all the time.
I'm there all the time. Well,
fantastic.
At least I get to go to the Athens branch now. So.
Oh, good. Well, you're
But
doing good.
yeah, doing great.
And
And
Rob, so
Jamie, you're doing amazing too.
yeah, and so Rob, you're currently waiting, correct?
Yes, I am currently waiting. I've
You're
been on
waiting.
it for about 4 months now,
Okay.
but been going through it for about 25 years now. So
He's
it's
actually starting an Instagram, so we're starting to search now. He doesn't want to say yet for a living donor. I'm pushing him. Sorry, So
Well,
I started an email now
Yeah.
just to put out there, robneedsaliver@gmail.com. They try
Okay.
that.
connect with me on Facebook and I'll give you some more suggestions and I'll connect
You
you with the ones
So
that do all these
set it up
posters.
yet? Have
Yeah.
you set it up yet, Rob?
I've set up the email, yes, and I've set up an Instagram account, same name. But I will set up a Facebook
Okay.
soon also. I
Well,
really
what
have
is
to
the
get into money.
Instagram? What is your Instagram?
Rob Needs a Liver. Pretty
That's
basic.
there you
Pretty
go.
basic.
Yeah.
Well, get it on your vehicle, get a call or Google billboards
Got
near me
decals, got
and get it
stickers,
on
got everything
billboards.
ready to go.
Mhm.
Today was the first
Mhm.
step.
There you go.
Yeah, and
And
we,
that's how the matches are found.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, we definitely have to do this a couple times before the month is out. To come back on and talk about this to bring awareness, because I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm sure you all probably already know this. Shows like this are not popular, because you're not doing any silly, crazy, stupid stuff, and so it's not popular. And so we have to make sure that we keep putting the word out and putting it in front of everybody to let them know the importance of, organ donation. And I think what helps too is for, people to see real people that need a transplant. They're sick, they're going through it, and then you see somebody who's gotten it. So I think that that's really important. And yes, Sam, you said it. There you go. He said it takes way more than a village. And he said, remember, it's
Yes,
not
it does, Sam.
just register to donate. It's not enough to just register to donate. Let your decision to donate be known to family members, etc. You know what? Thank you, Sam. That's a great point. And I kind of want to end there. And you guys, we're going to come back and we'll do this again. But that is so important, because there are a lot of people who are organ donors. And I worked in the medical field for 25 years, and I can't even count how many times families were going at it because the person had on their driver's license they're an organ donor. So the doctor's having that discussion, and you got family members who are like, "No, you're not taking their organs," and da 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 da. They're having a fit. It is so important
Exactly.
to let your family know if this is what you want to do. I would go so far as even putting it in writing.
It's in my will.
Yes,
It's in,
yes,
yeah, it's on both of us. Yes. And
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
well, all of our families, our kids, everyone knows that's what we want. But
Mm-hmm.
if you happen to be in an accident and you're away from your family and that decision needs to be made and they're not right there, it's on your driver's license.
Yep.
So that's another important reason to register.
And you know what else you can do also? I have all of that on my phone. So if
Oh,
something
yes.
happens to me, they can actually hit the emergency thing on my phone, and it will actually pull up all of my information, blood type, all of that, organ donor, everything. It's right there on my phone. So I think, hopefully, people that have listened and that have tuned in, I hope that everyone understands that is, end of life. You don't want your family going at it. And
Nope.
sometimes it's better if we just start pre-planning. That's what I love about the thing of pre-planning. We don't like to have that discussion, but we have to pre-plan, and that way it makes it a lot easier for the family when they're going through it. But everybody, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I'm going to just go around and let you give us some closing words before you go. And then Jamie, you and I can talk again about another date that we can set up to have you all come back again. Everybody, make sure you check out the Caring Hands Village. That's on Facebook. check it out, see what they're doing, especially if you know someone who is waiting for a transplant, send them here because I'm sure they need somebody to talk to. They need some support. And then you can also go to www.registerme.org. And we cannot forget Rob before we go. So we're going to put this up here that Rob needs a liver. That's on IG. Okay. Go to IG, check out his IG page. Rob needs a liver. We want to make sure that Rob is here with his. Okay, somebody sending me a text. They want to know if they can please have the contact info, I guess a phone number for Caring Hands Village.
Oh, wonderful.
The phone number is 423-227-0267.
Hold on, let me put it up here. Let me see. Let me go back.
And that's also on our Facebook page.
Okay, what's the phone number again?
423-227-0267.
Okay, so.
And that's also on our Facebook page and our website.
All right, cool. So let me put this back up so the person who was texting can actually see it up on the screen. Caring Hands Village, 423-227-0267.
That's great.
So Jamie, what I was saying is that, here's something else on here from Sam. Now, I have to see Sam in person because Sam is giving a lot of great information on here.
Sam is very informative.
He is. Okay. He said you can register to donate via Apple Health. Exactly. That's what I have. It's called, because I'm an Apple user, so it's Apple Health. Thank you, Sam. And then we have Dr. Leslie Porter on here. How are you? Yay. So listen, everybody, I want to go around and give everybody a chance to just say some last words, whatever it is that you want to share. And then Jamie, before the week is out, just get back to me and then we can look at some other dates. We can come back and do this again. Rob, I would like to, I would like to interview you one-on-one.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. That'll be great.
All right. So let's go around.
I'll let you guys go first. Rhett, you want to go?
Sure. Donate life. I would not be here today. I'm living proof this stuff works. Just that's all I can say. It's a miracle. You got to see it to believe it. Like I said, I would not be here.
And congratulations to you.
Well, thank you.
Sarah?
We have a question before we go from Tiffany. She said, when you are going through the process of trying to get a transplant, you could be so sick you can't fight for yourself. You need someone who can and will fight for you.
Absolutely. I don't know. When I was so sick,
that's where the caregiver comes in.
Yes. When I was so sick, I didn't have time. I went through, I called it an interrogation because in a week, you get like I said, interrogated, and my wingman was my sister. My brother, my mom there, but she was the spearhead of that. Because not only was I being interviewed, they were being interviewed nonstop, behind the other closed doors. So yes, you definitely need your caregiver before, after, during, through all aspects of the process.
Right.
My sister flew out and was a huge advocate for me, and she likes to tell stories. I wasn't even out of a coma. I don't remember most of it, to be honest with you. I was here and somewhere else, and maybe halfway in between. But she remembers them asking if I had a criminal record and a lot of very interesting questions. So she was a huge advocate and for me. So I owe her a lot.
The term I kept hearing is I was froggy. I could think things, but I couldn't get words out of my mouth. That's the HE talking. The ammonia was so built up. It was, you got to experience to understand it. But I couldn't do it on my own. I had to have somebody advocating for me.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And that's exactly the way it was with my husband. There's no way he would have made it
Yeah, I feel like I'm a fairly intelligent guy, but I mean, I couldn't have spelled the word cat if you had asked me, during that process.
Mm.
Actually, when Jim was waiting, he did a psych test and he only tested at a second grade level.
Yeah,
And he had been a
congratulations.
salesman all of his
He
life,
did better than
And
I
so it just tells you what HE can do to you.
did. Oh yeah.
I mean, hepatitic encephalopathy is a horrible part of liver disease.
Mm.
Well,
Wow.
we don't remember it. I guess that's the only good thing about it.
Yeah.
And that's
Well,
what I
Rob,
always hoped with my husband was
Yeah.
that he wouldn't remember those
Well,
Yeah.
because there were
I
so
don't remember. I don't remember all of it, but yeah. But yeah, I do remember some. But yeah, you're exactly right.
Well, Rhett, thank you so much for coming on. You know, blessings to you for getting that donation and being able to thrive now and be there with your children and enjoy life. So I really wish peace and blessings upon you as you continue to go forward, and also blessings to the person who gave you the donation.
Yes, I've got my letter written, ready to send, and hopefully I get to meet them in person one day.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jamie, you want to say something before we go?
I just want to encourage everybody. Most of the important, just ask the questions. If anybody ever wants to reach out, my profile is open on public. I answer a lot of people's questions. I actually tend to work a lot with the younger generation, so I'm very good with kids and people in their 20s and 30s. There's a lot of stigma behind that too. You'd be surprised how many of them as well need donations, and they don't have anyone to talk to. They feel, how imagine being a 16-year-old, a dialysis surrounded by, just people who are 50 years older than you in a sense,
Right.
So I've heard stories like that. But most importantly, just be open about things, whether
Mhm.
pre-transplant, post-transplant, somebody, don't be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid of the whole thing.
Mhm.
So that's just my closing thoughts.
Yeah, and have more of these discussions. Yeah. All right, we got Rob.
Thank you. Just wanted to say thanks for the opportunity. Learned a lot. It's a great conversation, great forum. I mean, I'll just end on keep the faith, be positive. When you expect the best, you receive the best. That's pretty much how I've been feeling about it, and everything's going to be going well. So we'll go on from there.
And Rob, I'm gonna tell you, I've been there, done that, got the T-shirt. Attitude is everything to get through this. You got it, man. Yep.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely, Rob. We're going to keep you
Yes,
in
it
prayer.
is.
I believe in faith and praying and all of that. So I'm definitely going to keep you in prayer.
Thank you.
Now I know your situation, and I pray that you receive everything that you need so you can be here with your boys and watch them grow up.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
You
very
are
much.
welcome. And we Sarah, was there any last words you wanted to say before we go?
Well, I kind of skipped out on me there for a minute, but here I am. Just reach out to me. No caregivers alone.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do best is I help others. So reach out no matter what the illness or the journey. I probably have someone that's walked in your shoes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
And keep your faith and your hope going.
Yeah, that's what Dr. Leslie Porter said. Keep the faith. Sam says, may God bless
Absolutely.
all of you. So everybody, listen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This has been really great. I love shows, that are informative. And I appreciate you all taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and sit with me for a few minutes to talk about this really important topic. And we will come back. Now, if there's anybody who's listening to us and you would like to be on the show next time, all you have to do, I'm going to put this number back up on the screen. If you dial this number, 443-297-4753, you can reach me and we can set up time whenever Jamie and I come up with this next date to make sure that you're on the show. If you're are looking for, you need an organ transplant. If that's what you need, listen, this is what I was taught growing up. If you don't ask, you may not get it. So you got to come on, you got to talk, you got to be loud, you got to let everybody know what you need. You never know who is out there listening. So this is what this platform is all about, and we're definitely going to make sure that we push Rob needs a liver, because we want to make sure that Rob gets his liver. And thank you for coming on and being transparent about that. So you can definitely call 443-297-4753, or you can get me on social media. If you go to Instagram, it's LadyJ Media, or if you go to Facebook, it'll be Charlene Dr. LadyJ Jenkins, and you'll be able to get me. Send me a message, and I'll make sure that we put you on so we can have this very important conversation. So thank you so much, everybody. I pray that you have a safe and blessed week. Continue to bless others, because that's what this is all about. And for those of you who may be watching, I just want to say, don't be discouraged if you're in this situation. Please don't be discouraged. Know that there is hope. I'm a firm believer that God never fails, and that he will see you through this entire process. Sometimes we just have to have a little bit of faith. So with that being said, my name is Dr. LadyJ. I thank you all so much for coming on. Jamie, don't forget to call me this week. Or you can text me, because my days are crazy. Sometimes I can't even get on the phone, but we'll communicate some kind of way so we can try to do something as early as next week. We can come back on and we can talk about this again and bring about some other stuff.
You can call me anytime.
All right. You open invitation anytime you want to come on. And Mr. Sam, I want you on the next panel.
Please. Thank you.
No more writing in the comments. I need you to come on so we can talk to you and we can get all of this information face to face. So guys, thank you so much. And again, I appreciate you coming on. Have a great week. Be blessed. My name is Dr. LadyJ. We have other shows that will be on the rest of the entire week. Shows are coming on. So make sure you tune in, stay and, have a good time. Thank you again. God bless. And make sure that you look into the information that was given tonight. And as I always say, make sure you take this video, share it with somebody else, because information is power, and you may just inspire and empower somebody else. All right, everybody. Good night. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Just wanted to let you know that the host of this show appreciates the time that you've spent with them. Now, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel so you can keep up with everything that we're doing. And most of all, thank you for tuning in to What Up Baltimore online radio, where the people have the power.